So like just to open up and based on your recent or most memorable experience working with various startups, and what are the frameworks you have to tackle these tech stack and data challenges? Bei, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure thing. So the framework, I would say I normally do a few things to get to diagnose, right, the bigger picture before dive deeper, right? The step one, normally I tend to, this is something I used to write in my own blog. Happy to share here in a few seconds. The first thing is I will analyze the data maturity in the 4-layer approach, right? First layer is basically the data landscape, data storage and the organization where the data is stored. And the second layer would be the basic BI and the simple analytics layer, right? Do we have a way to really understand the health in the most fundamental form? And the third layer would be more of an advanced analytics, right? Where do we need more of a data modeling or predictive modeling to get to know the situation a little more into the depths? And then the fourth layer is really the strategy and the communication, right? Do we have the right way, the right person to connect the data into the outcome? So I would evaluate that in any context to understand what's the status and the maturity across the board. That's the one dimension I would say, probably on the vertical side, right? And the horizontal wise, I tend to be because I happen to be in the company at a very different stage. So Point, I joined at the late Series A, and the Grammarly kind of mid stage, and I also work on the IPO stage companies. And so I guess I learned to diagnose, right, whether this company is 0 to 1 or 1 to 10 or 10 to 100. So, and because different stage require the balance between the quality and the speed very differently. So it's good to be aware of the level of rigor needed for the right stage. And the last one is knowing that maturity, knowing that stage, choose the right people for the job, right? So this is always need a team. It's a teamwork. So sometimes depending on the diagnose, it determines what kind of profile I need to bring in to solve the problem. It could be all kinds of roles, right? Data eng or BI and logic data scientist. Sometimes it's the title is very confusing along the way, but the actual conversation can help me understand whether the right person is set up for the success. So I'll pause here. Right, Chloe, anything to add from your end?
Yeah, I think what I had maybe is a little less about framework, but I think I really love the way that you laid it out, where 0 to 1, 1 to n, and the maturity stage. Based off the stage of the company, your data need is quite different. So when you're thinking about data tech or tech stack you want to bring in-house, I tend to be I want people to be more intentional about what you're trying to bring. It's not because everybody else is using this tool, let's bring these tools in-house, because every single data tool, not just because it's costly to implement, to integrate that into in your house, but also it's hard to move it out. So you have to be very intentional what I need at this stage, in order to think about what I need to choose, which tool I need to choose for this stage. Usually, really for the early stage, you're thinking more on the tracking side. What are the data? How do I track the right data to report? It doesn't have to be complicated, but what are the important piece of data that I need to answer my business question today and help my business to move forward? Some of the more complicated data efforts, like data science efforts, like if you think about attribution model, there could be first click, last click, multi-touch, all of that, but maybe very early stage, you want to at least be able to just report on that accurately. So thinking less on the complicated data science effort, really thinking about how do I support high quality, accurate reporting that can sustain for a long time.
Mm-hmm. And Chloe, this is really interesting because I work with a lot of companies who are relatively early stage, who are thinking about how to structure the data and do's and don't do's, and like, can you go a little deeper on like how do we think about structuring data from early stage?
When you say structure, you're thinking about capturing the data, or you're thinking about like building the centralized data? Or I think if you think from maturity perspective, if you're at the 0 to 1 stage, or maybe even -1 to 0, so you're trying to figure out your product market fit, what you need most of the time is velocity. So at this time, you can even just bring some third-party vendor. Now, like there's tons of tools like Amplitude, there's Mixed Panel. It's something that's easy to implement, very low cost, and then you can start iterating on getting quick data feedbacks and iterating on your decisions. But the thing starting to get complicated is when you start shifting between stage. When you go from zero, when you're starting to find product market, but have a little bit more engineers resource in-house, now you need to think about how to centralize all of this data. Now the question is, okay, do I need to keep all those early stage tools still in-house, or do I need to dump them and start building something new? Right? Those are all the questions that we need to kind of anticipate, and so you know what to expect at each stage. Does it help?
That's really